Title: The North Pole Heist. Chapter 1. The Pact of Misfits. It was a frigid night in late December, the kind that chilled you to your bones, leaving you questioning your every decision. Four boys huddled around a small campfire in Jack's garage, the glow flickering off their faces like a macabre omen. "I still can't believe we're doing this," Sam muttered, his voice trembling as he pulled his coat tighter. "This is insane, guys. The North Pole, that's like Santa's lair, man." Jack, the leader, grinned. It was a wide, sharp smile, the kind that made his eyes glint like a predator's. "Exactly. And it's time we take what's rightfully ours." Ben, the jokester of the group, threw a rubber chicken in the air and caught it with a goofy grin. "Yeah, nothing says Christmas like stealing from an immortal, magical man who can probably melt our faces off if he wanted to." Tommy, the planner, adjusted his glasses with a smug air of superiority. "I've tracked down the exact location of the North Pole. It's hidden under miles of ice, but I've managed to find a way in. Trust me, guys, I've got it all figured out." Sam looked uneasy, his hand twitching near the door as if he could still escape. "We're gonna die. You do realize that, right?" Jack's voice dropped to a low growl. "We've been bad all year. Santa's judgment doesn't matter. This is about getting what we deserve. We're going to the North Pole, and we're coming back with his presents. All of them." Ben chuckled nervously. All right, I'm in. But we better make this quick. I'm not trying to meet a magical death before I get my hands on some presents." Jack patted Ben's back. "Then let's move." The pact was made, four boys against an ancient power. They would soon regret that decision. Chapter 2. Into the ice. The trek to the North Pole was not the stuff of legends. It was grueling cold, and far more dangerous than any of them anticipated. The wind howled like a tortured soul, and the snow seemed to swallow them whole, leaving no sign of their existence to the outside world. Sam stumbled through the thick snow, his teeth chattering. "I'm freezing. This is insane, Jack." "Quit whining, Sam. We're almost there." Jack's voice was filled with steely determination, each step they took bringing them closer to the fabled North Pole. Tommy checked his handheld device, his brow furrowing in concentration. "We should be just a few hundred meters from the entry point. Stay sharp." Ben made another attempt at humor, pulling a snowman decoration out of his bag. "Hey, if we find Santa, we can all dress like this." Just imagine the looks on his elves' faces. Jack's eyes flashed. "Enough with the jokes. Ben, focus." They pressed on, finally reaching a tall, icy fence that stretched impossibly high. The wires shimmered like it was alive, a barrier that seemed to hum with an unnatural energy. Tommy crouched down. "I've already scoped out the weak points. It's electrified, but I can bypass it." Ben whistled, impressed. "You really are a nerd, huh? Let's just hope your gadgets work." Tommy shot him a glare. "Shut up, Ben. This is serious." With a few swift taps on his device, Tommy disabled the electric fence, and they slipped through. Chapter 3. The Heart of the North Pole. The North Pole was nothing like they had imagined. It was more of a bleak industrial wasteland than the Christmas utopia they had heard about in stories. Towering, dilapidated buildings loomed in the distance, casting long, eerie shadows over the barren landscape. The air felt thick, oppressive, as if something was watching them. Ben made a face. "This doesn't feel like Christmas at all." "It's too quiet." "You're right," Sam added, his voice barely above a whisper. "This is wrong." Jack motioned for them to stay quiet. "Don't get scared now, we're already in. Stay focused." They ventured deeper into the labyrinthine complex, evading patrolling sentries and strange, mechanical creatures that wandered aimlessly. Jack was the first to notice something was wrong. "We're not alone here," he said, his voice low. Tommy's eyes narrowed. "There's no one on the security footage. But I feel it too. We're being watched. Maybe it's just Santa's elves. They're probably hiding in some corner," Ben offered, trying to keep the mood light, but even his voice had a nervous edge. Sam shivered, glancing behind him. I don't like this. They finally arrived at a massive, fortified building. It had no windows, only a heavy metal door that screamed keep out. Tommy scanned the area. This is it, he whispered. A mix of excitement and fear his tone. The stash of presents is inside. Ben grinned. Let's get the loot and get out of here before the big guy shows up. As they made their way toward the door, Ben, true to his nature, made a joke, reaching for a nearby switch that hung by the door. Maybe this opens the gift shop. He flipped the switch. The sound was deafening, a sharp mechanical whine followed by the heavy clanging of chains. The room suddenly went dark, and then asterisk clang, asterisk clang, asterisk clang, asterisk. A massive shadow loomed in the doorway. A group of golems, their stone bodies pulsing with a sickly green glow, stepped forward, their eyes locking onto the boys with terrifying intent. Before anyone could react, the golems moved with inhuman speed, snatching Tommy and Ben by their throats and lifting them off the ground. Let them go, Jack yelled, but his voice was drowned out by the screeching wail of the alarm that blared through the complex. Tommy and Ben were dragged away, kicking and screaming, their helpless cries echoing down the hall. Stop them, Sam cried, his face pale with fear. But the golems were unyielding, dragging the boys into the depths of the North Pole. Jack's eyes narrowed. We have to follow them, Jack said, his voice shaking with adrenaline. Now. Chapter 4. The Punishment Zone. The boys were thrown into an expansive, gray void, an endless wasteland of cold concrete and rusting metal. In the distance, figures moved, workers, or something else entirely, who shuffled about aimlessly. It was like a nightmare made real. Tommy struggled to his feet, his voice hoarse. What ... is this place? Ben, his face ashen, stumbled beside him. Where are we? A muffled voice suddenly rasped from the shadows. This is the punishment zone, a ragged dwarf said, his body covered in scars and chains. You shouldn't have come here. Santa doesn't like visitors. Tommy swallowed hard. Santa ... Santa's real. The dwarf gave a twisted smile. Santa is no jolly old man. He's a tyrant. And if you're naughty, you get sent here. He pointed to the surrounding darkness. Or worse. Ben laughed nervously. Great. So, what? We're in the North Pole's version of hell. You'll see for yourselves, the dwarf warned as he shuffled away, disappearing into the gloom. Ben nodded frantically. Yeah, this is not what I signed up for. I just wanted some presents, not a death sentence. But before they could formulate a plan, the floor rumbled beneath them, and from the shadows emerged a towering figure, a golem. But this time, it was larger, more terrifying, and behind it, Santa's voice echoed through the chamber. Chapter 5. A Bitter Christmas. Outside the punishment zone, Jack and Sam crept forward, desperate to rescue their friends. Sam was shaking uncontrollably, but Jack remained cold, his face set like stone. You're not backing out now, Sam. You're not a coward, are you? Jack sneered. I don't care about the presents, Jack. Sam shot back, his voice filled with panic. This is beyond messed up. Jack paused for a moment, his eyes narrowing with bitterness. Santa ... killed my mom. Left me a note saying she was a dirty whore, and that I should be grateful for the gift of her death. Do you think I'm going to let that bastard win? Sam's eyes widened with realization, but he didn't know what to say. Get it together, Jack hissed. We're getting them out of here, or we die trying. Chapter 6. The Final Showdown. The moment the alarms blared, chaos erupted. Elves poured into the halls, their twisted, malevolent faces contorted with rage. Jack fought with everything he had, dragging Sam along through the maze of corridors. Ben and Tommy's screams echoed through the cold as Santa's shadow loomed over them. The battle for survival had only just begun. Would they escape the clutches of the North Pole? Or would Santa's vengeance prove to be the final gift they'd ever receive?